calmly attend a public meeting at the Ramlila grounds, Delhi. They are here not only because of the personal charisma of a leader, but because the ballot is stronger than the bullet, and she gives voice to the will of the people.
सब देशों को स्वतंत्र होने का अधिकार है। सब लोगों को अपनी आवाज उठाने का अधिकार है, अगर उनके मानने ठीक मानने हों। और हमें पूरा विश्वास है कि जब आजादी की आवाज उठती है, न्याय की आवाज उठती है, भाईचारे की आवाज उठती है, तो हमेशा उसी की विजय होती है। क्यों ये एक दबा हुआ देश, एक काले आदमियों का देश, हम समझते थे कि कुछ नहीं बोलेगा, हमारे कहने पे चलेगा, क्यों इसकी आवाज उठती है? क्यों इसको हिम्मत है अपना रास्ता निकालने को? क्यों इसको हिम्मत है जो वो ठीक समझता है अपने लिए वो करने को? आज ये लड़ाई है। हम समझते हैं कि केवल हम भारत के लिए नहीं लड़ रहे हैं, केवल अपने उसूलों के लिए नहीं लड़ रहे हैं, हम आज सारे दुनिया में जो दबे हैं, सारे दुनिया में जो वर्षों से, आज के नहीं, जो सदियों से दबाए गए हैं, चाहे वो अपने दबाएपन को न पहचान सके, वो अपनी गुलामी को नहीं पहचान सके, लेकिन हम पहचानते हैं और हम जानते हैं कि उससे आज हम नहीं लड़ेंगे तो यही धक्का हमको लगेगा। हम जानते थे कि हमारी आजादी अगर कम हुई तो किसी की मदद हमको मजबूत नहीं रख सकती, और अगर आजादी पक्की होती है तो बिना किसी की मदद के हम मजबूत रहेंगे, जरूर रहेंगे, और जो हमें करना है वो करके हम दिखाएंगे।
That is the spirit of the nation. Victorious, India declares a unilateral ceasefire. It is a masterstroke of humanity and politics. The task has been brilliantly accomplished. Bangladesh is born. Out of the flames of disaster, Mrs. Indira Gandhi has helped forward a new and free nation. In crushing Pakistan's ruthless military machine, she has, in the words of one member of parliament, not only created history, but made geography. In Delhi's Central Hall of Parliament, praise for her wisdom and courage is unanimous and fulsome. Meanwhile, the world press does not lag in its appreciation of this modest, patient lady. Commentators, particularly in Britain, France, the Soviet Union, and some even in the USA, acknowledge her excellence as a leader and a strategist. In Delhi, the meeting held under the chairmanship of Vice President Pathak is addressed by many members of Parliament.
Of the new state and the great neighbor, Bangladesh. This is a historic creation of the struggles and the sacrifices of millions of people. On this occasion, our mind naturally turned to the architect of this state, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman.
And every country will have to remember that if any country oppresses any part of it, this is what will be the result. That part will be liberated in future, and that is the message of the great action that has taken place today. I again congratulate all of them and the Prime Minister who led the country to this victory. She has succeeded in projecting, I think, a new image of our country and our nation.
People in our neighborhood were suffering, had been suffering for more than 2 decades, and all that belongs to humankind was denied to them. We are happy that we have contributed to the removal of that suffering, and we have served humanity in this manner. She became, for the time being, the voice of the people of Bangladesh also. This new state symbolizes the determination of free people. This new state represents the triumph of the spirit of man. I congratulate the Prime Minister, the armed forces, Mukti Bahani, the entire nation on this most historical event here.
Sharing the common ideals of secularism, democracy and justice between man and man, the people of Bangladesh and the people of India will march forward carrying the torch of hope not only for the people of the subcontinent but for the people of the world. Madam Prime Minister, you are not only the leader of the great people of India, you are the leader of the people of Bangladesh. Madam Prime Minister, you are not only a leader of the subcontinent, but you are the leader of mankind.
Friends, this function would have been acutely embarrassing had I taken your words literally. But I cannot believe that we are here to felicitate an individual. We are gathered here today, the members of many different parties representing a very large part of the world's population, to salute the human spirit. We are here to salute the high ideals for which this country has stood and which has brought forth the best in our people in all kinds of difficulty. The spirit of compassion which motivated Sheikh Mujibur Rahman to feel the deep concern for his people, which was the beginning of this particular struggle for freedom. The spirit of high patriotism which drove all sorts of danger and hardship from the minds of our brave fighting forces. All the world admires a deed well done, and I think with all modesty we can say that we have done this action well. But let us not forget that the road ahead is still long and very steep, and we have many peaks to scale. Let us hope that we can do this with the same spirit in which we have faced this challenge, and that we will go ahead from peak to peak, raising our nation to new heights of quality and of excellence. I thank you once again, and I want to also welcome, I would like to say a very special word of greeting to our guest, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Bangladesh. He and his people have exhibited this human spirit in no less a manner than we have seen in our country. In fact, our armed forces have fought, but before that it was the young men, some old also, but most of them were young boys of the Mukti Bahini, who with hardly any training, with hardly any equipment, faced one of the most brutal regimes the world had ever known. It was this human spirit which the love for freedom the love, the desire to express themselves, to fight oppression and exploitation. This was what gave them a strength which no weapon alone can give.
Admirable is the gallantry and bravery of the Indian Armed Forces who foiled the aggressive designs of Pakistan's war machine. By capturing the Chicken Neck, our forces posed a serious threat to the vitals of the Sialkot sector. Fighting has stopped, but vigilance, the price of freedom, continues. The Chief of the Army Staff meets Jawans in the Chamb area. General Manekshaw meets Air Force officers in Pathankot. The Army Chief pays rich tributes to the valiant Jawans who penetrated deep into the Shakkargarh Basantar salient. Demoralized and in disarray, the retreating Pak army left behind truckloads of arms and ammunition in this area. Visiting the military hospital at Udhampur, General Manekshaw cheers up injured Jawans.
গঙ্গা নদীর ধারে মুদের ঢাকা শহর যে শহরে রক্ত দিল বরকত সালাম জব্বর
Dhaka, after 9 months of agony and struggle, becomes the capital of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Citizens of Bangladesh recover from the long period of pillage and carnage and breathe the air of freedom.
নতুন জোয়ার জাগে ঢাকার শহরে সেই জোয়ার ছড়িয়ে পড়ে বাংলার গ্রাম বন্দরে নতুন দিনের নতুন জোয়ার জাগে ঢাকা শহরে সেই জোয়ার ছড়িয়ে পড়ে বাংলার গ্রাম বন্দরে এই সে শহর যে শহরে বঙ্গবন্ধু ডাকে
Begum Mujibur Rahman and members of her family are rescued by the Indian Army.
মানুষ নতুন করে সোনার বাংলা মাকে বুড়ি গঙ্গা নদীর ধারে মুদের ঢাকা শহর যে শহরে রক্ত দিল বরকত সালাম জব্বর বুড়ি গঙ্গা নদীর ধারে মুদের ঢাকা শহর যে শহরে রক্ত দিল বরকত সালাম জব্বর যে শহরে রক্ত দিল বরকত সালাম জব্বর
Surging masses of humanity throng the city streets and await the arrival of the cabinet members of the Bangladesh government.
কত মানুষ সব হারিয়ে হইল সর্বহারা, কত মানুষ সব হারিয়ে হইল সর্বহারা। এই গঙ্গা নদীর ধারে মুদের ঢাকা শহর, এই শহরে রক্ত দিল বরকত সালাম জব্বর। এই গঙ্গা নদীর ধারে মুদের ঢাকা শহর, এই শহরে রক্ত দিল বরকত সালাম জব্বর, এই শহরে রক্ত দিল বরকত সালাম জব্বর। বলে ডাকতে চেয়েছিল যারা, এমন কত মুক্তি কানে নিত্য গেল মারা, ফাতেমা বলে তাকে।
The cabinet includes the acting president, Mr. Nazrul Islam, and Prime Minister Tajuddin Ahmed. The shifting of the capital from Mujibnagar to Dhaka marks the birth of another nation, the 8th largest in the world, and one committed to friendship for all and malice towards none.
বাংলা মায়ের বলে বাংলা মায়ের সাধন ভূমি, এই শহরে নব বাংলার তীর কৃষ্ণভূমি, এই শহরে নব বাংলার তীর সকল হলো স্বপ্ন বলে জয় বাংলা জয় বাংলা। ঢাকার শহর জাগলো আবার মুক্ত সোনার বাংলা, ঢাকার শহর জাগলো আবার মুক্ত সোনার বাংলা। ওরে গঙ্গা নদীর ধারে মুদের ঢাকা শহর, এ শহরে রক্ত দিল বরকত সালাম জব্বর। ওরে গঙ্গা নদীর জগৎবাসী একবার বাংলাদেশকে যাও দেখিয়া রে।
Even as their defeat was imminent, Pakistani troops and collaborators wreaked havoc and destruction in civilian areas.
ওরে পাকিস্তানের বর্বরি আহিয়া, মেশিনে গানার বুলেট বেউনেটি দিয়া জগৎবাসী।
Cries the singer, look, the Pakistanis have turned golden Bengal into a morgue, a graveyard.
বাঙালিদের পয়সা দিয়া বাঙালিদের গুলি, ওরে অত্যাচারের প্রতিশোধ দে তুলি। বাঙালি তুই বুকের রক্ত দিয়া জগৎবাসী একবার।
Not since Hitler has the world seen such wanton massacre.
মায়ের রক্ত বোনের রক্ত ভাইয়ের রক্ত মায়ের রক্ত বোনের রক্ত ভাইয়ের রক্ত ওরে মুক্ত করতে মুজিবরের বঙ্গভূমিকে। বাঙালি তুই দাঁড়ায় অস্ত্র নিয়া জগৎবাসী।
In contrast, the Indian Armed Forces treat Pakistani prisoners of war with a humaneness of which the whole country can be proud. The wounded are given medical treatment, the frightened are reassured. Not since the Second World War has such a massive surrender taken place. Surprisingly, many of the prisoners express amazement at discovering that the Indian Armed Forces are composed of men of all faiths and religions. Obviously, the Pakistanis have been victims of their own vicious propaganda. The biggest, most stupendous task now is reconstruction. Indian Army engineers build Bailey bridges, pontoon bridges, floating bridges, all kinds of bridges with all possible speed, so that Bangladesh, after its 9-month nightmare, awakes to a dawn of freedom and prosperity. The Pakistan Army had destroyed whatever communications it could in this land crisscrossed by numerous rivers. It is estimated that immediate repairs will cost at least 500 million rupees. That is, 150 million to repair roads and bridges, another 150 million to relink the railways, 50 million to reopen the ports, and an additional 150 million to repair airfields and restore telecommunication facilities. The enthusiastic civilians of Bangladesh work side by side with Indian Jawans in the process of restoration. During the rampage of the Pakistan Army, local people were afraid to receive telephone calls. Intellectuals were invited out, and often only their slippers and spectacles were sent back. Today, the telephone is again a messenger of hope and joy. To make a pun, especially Joy Bangladesh. Postal services are revived by the Indian Army, and long-separated relatives exchange greetings and gladder tidings than ever before. Whatever was plundered from the hapless citizens by the Pakistanis is recovered by the Indian Army and handed over to bank officials of Bangladesh. Just as the youth of Bangladesh had taken up arms to defend the people and free them from the savagery of Pakistan's military junta, the Mukti Bahini now voluntarily lay down their weapons. The war is over. Other tools must be taken up now for an economically stable peace. The surest sign of returning stability is the return of the refugees. The horrors these people have known give way now to dreams. Children who seemed destined for misery and could look forward only to taking up the gun can now think of simple pleasures, and yes, of taking up toys. The cattle may be thin and skeletal, but the farmer is the backbone of all economy, and there is hope in that he has survived. There is hope in many scenes. Bangladesh echoes today with chatting and laughter and plans for the future. In the western sector, Pakistan had planned two major offensives against India. The first one was in Chamb in Kashmir. The second was at Longewala, a small place in Rajasthan. The aim was to capture important towns like Ramgarh and Jaisalmer. As in Chamb, so in Longewala, the enemy thrust was blunted. This is the story of the Battle of Longewala. Major Kuldeep Singh Chandpuri, winner of the Mahavir Chakra Award for gallantry, and his rifle company are not likely to forget the massive surprise attack spearheaded by a Pakistani brigade and an armored regiment of Chinese-made T-59 tanks. The attack came suddenly in the early hours of December the 5th, 1971. The Indian company was vastly outnumbered. Not only did the major and his company hold their ground, they inflicted heavy casualties on the enemy. By the first light of morning, it was clear that the Jawans, far from feeling cornered, were fighting with great personal grit and an offensive spirit. The surprise attack of the enemy was itself surprised. Indian Army scouts, watching and pinpointing enemy formations and movements, helped to keep the major's guns accurate. Against successive tank attacks, recoilless guns were used to maximum advantage. At 7 in the morning, the Indian Air Force joined the fray. Enemy hopes were dashed completely by the swift and decisive action of our Air Force, which damaged or destroyed 95% of the enemy armor in this area. Said the Major, hats off to the Air Force chaps. Well, sir, hats off to you also. Nearly 36 Chinese-made T-59 tanks lie scattered like dead cockroaches in the sand. The fate of Pakistan's Chinese tanks has proved no different to the complete rout of the American Patton tanks in the Kheemkaran sector in 1965. A fitting prize for the victory here was the capture of enormous amounts of arms and ammunition, and 2 tanks in running order. The Battle of Longewala changed the entire complexion of the war in this sector. In the next few days, the Indian Armed Forces were able to capture a 10 to 15 kilometer belt all along the boundary. Our armed forces captured about 10,000 square kilometers in Sindh and Hyderabad region. Yes, these are the heroes of Longewala. With them, we celebrate victory and a return to what we hope is a lasting peace. Bangladesh, the 193rd and youngest country in the world, sees a return to normalcy. Civil administration has been established after years of Pakistani dictatorship. The harrowing months of terror and bloodshed are over. Dhaka, the graveyard of the two-nation theory, has become the capital of a free nation. Thanks to the Indian Army engineers, many disrupted rail and road connections are now open to traffic. Here, 9 months ago, General Yahya Khan, Mr. Bhutto and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman met. The rest is history. The inhuman atrocities committed by the Pak occupation army, especially in the Bengali-speaking areas of Dhaka, are beyond description. The Martyrs' Memorial, a symbol of Bangladesh nationalism, was razed to the ground. The 10 million refugees who sought shelter in India were by their very numbers historic. Today, the flag of freedom everywhere. The free citizens of Bangladesh offer help to the new government in every aspect of reconstruction. Addressing a gathering of government employees, Prime Minister Tajuddin Ahmed thanks the government of India who helped Bangladesh become a reality.
কমিটমেন্ট করে শ্রীমতী গান্ধী আপনার দেশে আসতেন না। আর আপনার দেশে তারা নিজের ইচ্ছা করে ঢুকেন নেই। আমরা বাংলাদেশ সরকার আমন্ত্রণ করেছি বন্ধু রাষ্ট্র হিসাবে। আমাদের স্বাধীনতা তারা যেই দিন স্বীকার করে নিয়েছেন 6 ডিসেম্বর, সেই দিন আমরা ভারত গভর্নমেন্টকে অনুরোধ করেছি, আজকে আমিও স্বাধীন রাষ্ট্র, তুমিও স্বাধীন রাষ্ট্র, স্বাধীন রাষ্ট্র হিসাবে আমার স্বাধীনতা উদ্ধার করার জন্য আসো, আমাকে সাহায্য দাও। তারা সাড়া দিয়েছেন।
DP Dhar, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's personal envoy, arrives in Dhaka. He will assess the need for Indian support in the economic rehabilitation of Bangladesh. He calls on the acting president, Nazrul Islam. General Manik Shaw, Chief of the Army Staff, visits Dhaka and meets the Jawans who brought the occupation army to a surrender. He is accorded a rousing reception everywhere. The Dhaka cantonment has been converted into a massive prisoner of war detention camp. However, it bears no evidence of any barbed wire fences, and the Pak soldiers move about freely, enjoying most of their usual privileges. The one thing they certainly can't have now is their guns. Within hours of Pakistan starting the war, the Eastern Fleet of the Indian Navy seals off the Bay of Bengal. The aircraft carrier Vikrant spearheads the attack on Cox's Bazar, Chittagong and several other ports. December landing operations. Our cameraman says it wasn't easy. Big craft could not beach due to the powerful swell. The stocky Gurkhas, weighed down with equipment, would have been out of their depth. The shoreline was also heavily mined. Eager help came by way of a relay of small boats sent by the Mukti Bahini and the civilian population. Ashore, among the people gathered, is the captain of the local Mukti Bahini. He welcomes Brigadier Rai, the army commander, and Rear Admiral Sarma, flag officer commanding Eastern Fleet. Between victory and defeat, it is the war that takes its toll. Everything and everyone, including the Mukti Bahini captain, bears witness to that. In complete contrast to Pakistan's indiscriminate actions, the Indian naval guns and planes have been accurate. Enemy installations in Chittagong were bombed and rocketed in nearly 400 sorties, but not one civilian was killed. It is said that when an air raid alarm was sounded in Chittagong, Pakistani soldiers ran to the trenches while civilians climbed on rooftops to cheer Indian pilots. A woman of Bangladesh said to our cameraman, "I used to rush to the roof and pray that the Pakistani anti-aircraft guns would miss every Indian plane." The people's confidence in the aim and daring of the Indian pilots was not mistaken. Apart from one Daphne-class submarine sunk in a sea-to-sea battle, 6 ships and 1 gunboat were sent down in Chittagong. Oil tankers were set ablaze, 2 enemy gun positions were destroyed, and an ordnance factory and military barracks damaged. In addition, 8 chartered or disguised ships that tried to break the naval blockade were captured. Naval divers recover bags of currency and silver coins dumped into the sea by retreating Pakistani troops. At the Chittagong airport, a warm and victorious welcome awaits the operational chiefs of the Indian Armed Forces in the eastern sector. The 3 chiefs are received like some legendary wise men, bringing tidings of great joy to the people who are seeing the birth of their promised land. It is a time for extravagant feeling and expression. These jubilant people are celebrating their freedom. At a civic reception, the promise of the Indian Prime Minister to the people of Bangladesh is reiterated. The people are assured that the Indian Armed Forces would serve them and help in the restoration of peace. If the war was speedy, speedier is the waging of the peace. If the Indian Armed Forces deserve every tribute, so do the Army Engineers, the sappers who built communications during the war and have now laid the foundations for peace. From Wangaon in India, the first train sets off for Jessore in Bangladesh. It carries 225 passengers, mainly railwaymen, journalists and army officers. It's a slow, sentimental journey, and, says a reporter, it was an occasion for being sentimental, for it was the first time after partition that an Indian passenger train crossed the India-Bangladesh border. About 10 kilometers of broad-gauge track and 2 bridges were built within a few days by Army engineers, a tremendous achievement. With forgivable emotion, a journalist declares that as the train clanged along the track and picked up speed, the wheels seemed to say, "Bangladesh, Bangladesh." Well, whatever other talkative trains may say, this one means a return to friendship and peace.